watching it a second time, and I still cried again.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Nerd Taku Podcast, the show where we watch it so you don't have to. I'm your host, Eli. With me is my co-host, Ben.
Hey guys, how's it going?
This week, we'll be reviewing Josee, the Tiger and the Fish. Spoiler warnings ahead. Ben, my guy, are there spoilers in this episode?
Oh, absolutely. Directors are Kazuhira Wakabayashi, Tsuyoshi Tobita, and Tetsuya Mayanishi. Main cast, Suzy Young, Howard Wang, and Connie Chambers.
Ben, when we initially were talking about doing this film, I fell in love with this story when we first saw it back during COVID. This was right when the theaters were just starting to come back. It was nice. It was refreshing to get into a theater. I didn't realize this story was going to hit me harder than a brick wall, my guy. I didn't realize I was going to cry in ways I never thought I would cry in a theater. And then when we rewatched it, I was like, it made me cry even more. What were your thoughts initially when we picked this?
Oh, I was so happy when we decided we were going to do this one. We went to the theater and emotions were just so strong. We watched it subbed in theaters and it was amazing. This time I watched it dubbed and I was able to really take in everything, the colors, the animation, the drawings, all of it. And it hit so much harder. It was fucking fantastic.
Yes. No, this film, I couldn't believe how better the dub was to me. They're both amazing. Don't get me wrong. They're both amazing. Don't get me in the comments with, hey, sub is better than dub. No, equally, these are two amazing voice casts. I could not say that either one of them were bad. They were both amazing. On myanimeList.net, it was rated at an 8.4. Ben, would you like to give the synopsis?
Absolutely. Equipped with his passion for diving and admiration for marine biology, university student Sunio Suzukawa tries his best to juggle several part-time jobs to earn money to study abroad. One night, in a fatal accident, he meets a girl in a wheelchair, driving his current path into a detour. The girl, Kumiko, who prefers to be called Josee, initially comes off as rude. Sunio, however, is then convinced by Josee's grandmother to take on the paid job to be Josee's caretaker. Despite being annoyed with her bossy demeanor, Sunio sees the opportunity to save more funds to support his academic dream. Nonetheless, after putting up with Josee's behavior for some time, Sunio tries to quit, only to discover Josee's dreams of traversing the outside world to experience a life free from her crippling condition. Changing his mind, Sunio decides to accompany Josee in exploring the wonders that the world has to offer. Through their time together, the two begin to realize that the traits that bind them may be vital toward fulfilling their respective aspirations.
Hearing this synopsis, it really does encapsulate the whole film. I really do love this story, and the synopsis was just so good. I rated this film at 9.5.
This is the second film I've given a 10.
Wow. That says something if you're giving this film a 10. Now, explain to me, what does a 10 mean to you?
To me, a 10 means that I am so captivated by the story, by the art, by the acting. Everything just comes together to make that project really pop. Everything comes together to keep you completely engulfed in this story. You never want to look away from the screen. You're absolutely present. You never want to leave. You don't want to do stuff on the side. You just want to watch this film. And that is exactly what this did for me in the dubbed version, because I was able to understand everything that was going on compared to the subbed, because I had to focus on reading the subtitles at the bottom. So I wasn't able to 100% focus on the story and the art and everything that was going on. That's why when leaving the theater, when I first saw it, I only gave it a 9. This time I was able to pull everything in and really focus on everything, and it bumped it up to a 10.
The dub did bump my score up from 8.5 to a 9.5. The dub was just so much better for me personally. Like you said, understanding the story way better.
Absolutely.
Let's get into it. This first one is plot.
Well, obviously, I gave it a 1.
I gave this a 1. The story, as what was said in the synopsis, it's laid out beautifully. The plot goes from a man who is trying to survive through school, go to his dream of going to Mexico to swim in the ocean with the fishes and become the best marine biologist. And you learn that he has a sensitive side, a frustrating side, and he's a little bit of an alcoholic. Little drinks, he enjoys himself, a little spicy time.
Who
But
doesn't?
exactly, who doesn't enjoy a little spicy time? But he shows his compassion and love in a situation where this girl could have just literally shut him out and say screw him. And that's what she did in the beginning of the film. This plot was more towards being against him the whole time. It was against him, but he persevered. He showed that he wanted to do this, and the story just engrossed me to show that this love was so good, and the story just kept it good. It was consistent. There wasn't a dry moment in this story, in this plot. There was no dry moment. It was all clean.
I absolutely hear you. It was amazing. It starts out with him meeting her by her having been pushed down a hill by a passerby. She ends up falling into his arms. Grandma suggests that he become her caretaker. She didn't want it. He didn't want it, but he needed money. So he said, okay, I'll do it. And throughout the entire beginning of this show, she's doing everything she can to get him to leave. Like, counting all the strands on the tatami mat, kneeling in one spot for several hours, just so many things to just try to get him to go, and he won't go. And then this other side of her starts to come out when she ends up going to the ocean. She wants to go to the ocean again and see how it actually tastes because her father would tell her how it tastes. The first time she went with her father before her father passed away, she was too scared to go into the water. So she never ended up being able to figure out if there was an actual salty taste to the sea. So she goes to the ocean with Sunio, where she tries to pull herself into the water, and he ends up picking her up, taking her there, and dancing her with her in the ocean, making that scene super happy, super bright. That's where their relationship really starts to build. And then there's a few hiccups in the story when Mai comes into the story, and Josee starts to get jealous of Sunio and Mai's relationship, and that makes the relations rocky. And then Mai does everything she can to kind of try to get Josee out of the picture. Then there's a fight. There's just so much that happens that really pulls these two together. Then there's Grandma's death. There's Sunio getting hit by the car, which was completely out of the blue. No idea that was going to happen.
No, there was no idea that was going to happen. You saw the motorcyclist zoom by him, and it was like, wow, that was a close one. And all of a sudden, ding, he gets dinged by a Honda Civic. Yeah. And it's like, oh my good Lord, no. Is he dead?
That ends up getting him hurt, making him forget about his dreams because the professor comes in, tells him that he can't go to Mexico. They're going to look for someone else while he recovers. He just completely gives up. And then Mai goes to Josee and gets her all riled up. Josee ends up writing the book to bring Sunio out of his funk. There's just so much in this story that I don't even know how to explain it. It's just so damn good. It's amazing.
Yes, no, it is such a encapsulating plot.
It has so many ups and downs that you just don't know where the story is going to end up until it finally gets to its conclusion. So fucking good.
Exactly. Couldn't say it better. Acting.
A 1.
I gave acting a 1. This cast, I will say, I love the dubbed cast. Susie Young and Howard Wang. Some stellar chemistry in this voice acting between Josee and Sunio. It was so good. You could feel it. Mai, I really liked her. She is great. Danny Chambers is one of the really good voice acting. She does a lot of work. I love her work. This cast is experienced. This cast is so heavily veteraned and seasoned you could feel the chemistry, even if this was during the time when COVID was like a profound thing and they had to sit in their houses and do this in their closets or whatever. It was so good. Even in the little side characters, you could feel it. This was a profound and very encapsulating, I like to use that word a lot today, encapsulating cast.
I was super surprised at how well the dub cast did because I loved Taishi Nakagawa and Kaya Kiyahara as the Japanese cast. They did a phenomenal job. It was
Yes.
superb. But I have to say that the English cast did just slightly better. I don't know if it was just because I understand English better than Japanese or what, but I feel like the chemistry that Susie and Howard had together during their recording sessions was absolutely impressive. Everything about them, all of their lines were delivered for that certain character, and the moods that they were in, the sadness, happiness, you could just feel it as they were trying to portray these characters, and they did a phenomenal job. Even without Mai, there was no development. Therefore, she was very important to the story. And the way Danny delivered Mai's character, superb. She was angry. She was upset. She was sad. She was giving her love confession. The way she gave her love confession, just straight up out of the blue, needed to let Sunio know how she felt. You could feel and hear the feelings in her voice. It was as if she was making an actual confession to someone that she loved. It was just all around amazing acting choices.
Yes. Character development.
I gave that a 1.
I gave it a 1 as well. This, by far, is one of the best anime developments for romance I have seen in a very long time. I think this is one of the best on the market. If you want to show what a romance is, this is one. Because in the beginning, you saw the development of these two characters crumbling because Josee didn't want to deal with the whole situation of having a caretaker because the grandmother just wanted to go gamble. And Sunio was just like, I need the extra money, whatever. So they go back and forth, arguing. But then you see the love of the ocean connect them. You see the marine biologist in Sunio and Josee. She just wanted to touch the water. She loved learning about the water. And these two just grew this relationship where it was still rocky here and there, but like, it was still so good. Mai kind of like hit her head against the wall with this one and like tried to break it. But in the end, this development of love was so strong. And you could see on both sides, it was just so wanted. Each side was showing their affection, with Josee making that book for Sunio and Sunio sitting there crying and doing the physical therapy so he could get stronger. He wanted to have her there when he was getting checked out of the hospital. And it's like, so good. It was so good, my guy.
Oh, I absolutely agree. The connection they had at first was terrible. There was no connection. She wanted nothing to do with him. Took her to the ocean, started dancing in the water. That's where it progressed. Then they went out, had scones, went to the aquarium, went to the library. Their connection started to really grow. Then she met Mai and everything became rocky again. She didn't want anything to do with him for a while. He made her that glass fish and things started to progress again. And then grandma died. That's where her regression started. She needed to figure out what she wanted to do. She was giving up on her art. Sunio couldn't understand why she wanted to stop doing her art. Then she ends up kind of telling him how she feels. They have that fight at the beach again. Then Sunio gets hit by the car. Then he finds out that he can't go do his marine biology thing in Mexico, and his regression starts. He doesn't want anything to do with trying to get better, doesn't feel like he can get better. Then Mai admits she loves Sunio. Sunio tells her that he just doesn't have the same feelings. She says, I know. And then she goes to Josee, tells her that she'll never love Sunio as much as she does. Josee freaks out. That's where she finally gets out of her funk and realizes how much she feels for Sunio. Then she writes the book all about their love, all about the way they met, and it gets Sunio out of his funk. Like, there's just so much going on. Mai was a bitch, but she needed to be in the story because she's the one who kind of pushed both of them out of their heads. Without her, there would be no really any development. And that just shows my head development as well. It's not specific to growing as a character, but growing as helping the story push along to get the other two characters to build. There was just so much all throughout that I don't know how anyone could give this less than a one. It's all development. That's all the story is. Sheer development all the way through. Absolutely stupendous.
Yes. Sound and music.
Gave that a one.
I gave that a 1 as well.
I thought that the music throughout really pulled you in. Now that I'm able to watch this dubbed rather than subbed, I was able to really focus in on the ambiances and the sadness and the happiness that they were trying to portray per scene. And the music really, really brought that out. It's just amazing. Like on the beach, she's super happy. The music is hyped so high. When he gets hit by the car, it's saddened and solemn and hurtful, and you can feel the pain that she's feeling while she's trying to scream to him. The music is overpowering. It's just, there's just so much to it. And the sounds of the bubbles right at the beginning, all you see is them diving in the water, and the bubbles are floating above. I felt like I was in the water. I felt I was with them the whole time. It was absolutely captivating. I'm using that a lot, but I was there and I could feel it.
This score, this music was outstanding. It was very breathtaking. You didn't lose the scene with the music. The music worked in sync with each scene and each development that was happening throughout the story. You could feel the dramatic tone it was trying to make, also the very peaceful and the very happy tones. You could just feel the emotion in the music that the story was trying to tell. So that's what makes this a 1. It makes the story better. It's not just making it mend together, it makes it better. The story's great by itself, but the music just brings it 10 times better.
Absolutely.
Cinematography and animation.
A one.
This is one of my 0.75s.
Why?
I just didn't think, for me, because now I could watch it dubbed, I was really meticulous on some of the animation and the camera angles. I thought they were great, but it wasn't like outstanding. We've been talking about how this whole thing's been amazing so far, like one of the best things in the world. I think the cinematography and the animation was good, but it wasn't outstanding to me. Nothing stood out. The colors were great, but that's more in the scenery side of it. And I just felt like it was good. It wasn't something that took my breath away from them doing certain shots.
I felt like I was enthralled in this animation style, especially with when water was involved. This whole film revolved around being in the water, whether it was him diving or her trying to get to the ocean to taste the water. It was breathtaking. Right at the beginning, I absolutely felt like I was with them diving. Just how the fish were swimming around them, the coral reefs, the bubbles right in front of the camera as if it was coming off of your mask. Everything about it was impressive. One of the shots that really, really pulled me in with the cinematography was him running through the snow in the zoo to find Josee. It gave a close up of that snow, and every snowflake had a different shape as it was falling down, and you could see it intensified when he was rushing to find her, especially with how this was done out of their fucking living spaces. They didn't have a studio because of COVID, which makes it all the better. It was absolutely impressive how they were able to put all of this together from their homes. I felt like the animation was just as good as if it came out of a freaking studio.
All right, I see that your point of view. Directing.
A one.
I gave it a 1. I love the combined efforts of these 3 directors. It was so seamlessly well done. These guys were just so meticulous with their approach on this story, and they wanted to execute something really good, and I loved it. I just love their style of leadership and their style of painting a picture in my head of what I was looking for.
I can absolutely say these 3 knew what they wanted to show the world. You could tell what it was that they wanted to deliver. It was seamless, perfectly given.
Exactly.
You got connected with each character through their hard times, happy times, love, the pain they felt, the dramatic scenes, the sadness, everything pulled you into this story. And that is what they wanted to deliver. They wanted to show a love story that really makes sense. Everything about it started rocky. It had its up and downs. It had a character that was trying to separate them. It had problems that they had to overcome together. It was amazing. And these three really wanted to show how much struggle actually comes into a story with someone who's got a disability and wants to fight through it, but can't figure out how. And it was seamless. It was delivered phenomenally.
And said it better myself. Attraction.
A one.
I gave it a 0.75.
Why?
Josie's attitude in the beginning, I could look at it at a technical aspect and know that her development was needed to be whiny. She needed to be a little whiny, a little bit more off-putting for Sunio to get this, I need to do this, screw it. But it wasn't appealing to me. When I was watching it, the whininess was just, it was getting to me a little bit. But I persevered and I knew it was supposed to help the story so much more. But the whininess was just getting to me.
See, I knew why they put it in there. The life of this girl was so sheltered because her parents died and grandma had to take care of her. But grandma had a fear that Josie wouldn't be able to understand the world wouldn't be able to understand her because of this disability, because she couldn't walk. And Josie wanted to be able to break out of this shelter that her grandma had built, but she couldn't. And then she gets this caretaker who just randomly came from the street. She didn't know how to really process this because she's never had anybody else except grandma and parents helping her. So her actions were pretty justifiable in that sense. But aside from that, the development of the characters, the music, the colors, the dialogue, all of it, it really pulls you into this story. Everything together to make up this story is part of why the attraction for me, it kept me engulfed and not wanting to look away from this screen. I didn't do anything except watch this film, and that's what brings it up to a one for me.
Yeah. Dialogue.
It's a one.
Dialogue got a 1 for me too. Oh my gosh, the lines this movie used. The writing was so good. I loved the whole understanding of not able to reach for your goals. I just loved that. And I love Sunio's friend, Hayato, when he said, "Hey, I saved your life. At least you can follow me." And he's like, okay, because he's in the hospital at the time. And Hayato is like, you know what? I saved your life. At least you can do is go out with me, not be such a bum, basically. And that's where it brought him to the book of Josie's book that she wrote. And it was magical. And just these small little lines were just so good. I've got a feeling you got a few lines from this that you're going to talk about, but I just feel like overall, this is just so good. This is so wholesome and just so pure of a script.
I completely agree. There were so many good lines that could have gone into this category. I have a couple that really hit while I was watching this film. Sunio is talking to Mai and he says, "I didn't understand before. Now I realize how scary it is to reach for something you want." Just before he was hit by the car, Josie said something similar. For me to set up this scene, this is when Sunio is asking Josie why she's giving up on her art. Why throw all of her art away? He didn't understand. And Josie says, "It's out of my reach. That's how it's been my whole life. The red balloon that got caught on the roof, the cicada husk at the top of the tree, walking under an umbrella in a thunderstorm, running up the stairs to get to a shrine, all of it. It's not fair. So I've decided I'm not reaching for things anymore. You could never understand." That, and then the fact that Sunio says, "I didn't understand before. Now I realize how scary it is to reach for something you want." That really, oh man, I was like, oh shit. Who now
Bone
he
chilling.
finally understands what it is that she was trying to say. Nobody could understand how Josie feels. Nobody could, unless you're in the same situation. And he got put into a wheelchair and his dream got cut off because he was preparing to go to Mexico and it got taken away from him because he got hit. So that's where he decided he wasn't even going to try anymore, just like Josie did. That hit hard. There's a lot of things that I've done in my life that I've decided to stop trying and pursuing that maybe I could have, but it was never to this extent. And I started to tear. I didn't quite cry, but I started to really tear because I felt it, just the emotion that both of them were going through. Those aren't the only really amazing lines throughout this film, but those ones really hit when delivered. I didn't deliver them anywhere close to how well they are delivered in the film.
Those lines, just that situation of trying to reach for your goals. I know one person in my life who has something like it, and he deals with the struggles of trying to obtain his goals all the time. And I commemorate him for even doing 1/10 of what he does. Like, I could never do what he's his situation. Just to hear it in a movie, it just brings that emotion up from beneath your soul, and it makes you understand that until you meet someone, and if you meet someone like it, you'll barely know the surface level of what they're going through. Scenery,
So one.
I gave it a 1 as well. I loved that the emotions in the scene were controlled by the colors of what the scene was around it. When Josee was at the beach, when she ran away, it was all gray, dark tones, very mild colors, bland colors like grays, dark blues, blacks, browns. But then when things were coming to life, you saw the brightness, you saw the palette just change 180, and it was just amazing to see the colorfulness of this whole film come to life. Throughout the whole story, it was just very controlled by the colors. What the colors were is what you felt, and the details they gave in that were just so spectacular and mesmerizing. I knew from the moment I watched the beginning in the ocean, when you saw all the fish and all the sea life, it was gonna be so magically colorful.
I couldn't have said it much better myself. As you said, the emotions expressed in the film were shown through color. The first time she goes to the ocean, it's bright and beautiful. They're dancing in the water. It's gorgeous. The second time they go to the ocean, this is when she's telling him that she is going to give up on all her dreams, throw it all away. It's darker. It's not even close to as bright as it was. And Sunio gets hit by the car. It's dark. It's dramatic. It's hard to put into words. I can't even express how beautiful the scenes in this film are. The colors are vibrant, bright, dark, and solemn when bad things are happening. It enchants and engulfs you into this film, from the opening with the water in the bubbles and the diving to the sadness of grandma dying, caseworkers trying to get her to get to work and move out, her throwing her paintings away, him getting hit by the car, her reading the book, brighten his mood, the very end when he shows up unexpectedly while he's supposed to be studying abroad, all of it. There's just so much to this. It's just outstanding.
Recommend.
Oh, that's a 1.
Yeah, no matter what, it is a 1. This film, like I said in the beginning, it is the definition of what romance is. You cannot tell me any other way. This film just gives you everything you need, from heartache to drama to joy to anger to frustration to sadness. Everything. All the emotions were shown, and by the end of this film, I was crying. So I recommend this to anyone who wants to have a good heartthrob.
I agree. Even if you're not an anime fan, this one is worth the watch. It is so down to earth, true life problems. There's sadness, hurt, heartache, love. It's amazing how well these emotions are brought to you through the screen. You will not regret giving this one a watch. Anime fan or not, it is a beautiful story, and you will not regret watching it. I promise.
Overall, I kept my score at a 9.5.
And mine stayed at a 10.
This film is very captivating. The story is very mesmerizing, and the character development is some of the best I've ever seen in cinematography. I could not keep my eyes off this, and I know you, Ben. This film made us cry like a bitch.
Oh hell yeah! I I cried coming out of the theater. I knew what I was getting myself into watching it a second time, and I still cried again.
Yeah,
It was. I'm not gonna lie. I cried.
it's one of those films that gives you a good cry. Like the cry you need, not what you want. It's what you need at the moment. It gives you a good cry.
It just brought all the feelings up, man. All of them.
Yeah.
And so overwhelming that it comes out.
Amen, brother. Amen. As we wrap up the episode, we're going to talk about next week's episode. We're going to talk about the 2010 action-packed film, Unstoppable. This trailer gives generic late 2000s action vibes. Trains, trains, trains. I just felt the vibe of trains. We gotta stop it. We gotta do something to stop this train. And then you hear noises and gotta stop. Dun, 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 dun. So I expect this to be a jolly good time, and it's going to be really just an action-packed blast, it feels like. So I give this a 7, just to be generous, little give or take. But I think I give this a 7.
I'm pretty damn excited to review this film. The trailer makes it look intense as hell, with the train literally plowing through all kinds of things on the tracks. It just doesn't stop. Not to mention, it's got Denzel Washington and Chris Pine as the leads. Hell yeah. And it's based on true events. Sign me the fuck up. I am super excited to see where this film goes. I can't wait to give it a view. And based off the trailer, I'm going to give it an 8.
All right. As we wrap up, I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode of Nerd Taku Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at nerd_taku_podcast. And also, we're on Threads under the same username, nerd_taku_podcast. You can find this episode on all major podcasting platforms, also on YouTube under Kingdom Notes Studios. Leave us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what we could do better, or let us know what you guys want us to review. As always, guys, I'm Eli.
I'm Ben.
Thanks for joining us this week, and have a good one.
See you guys next week.